Squire, you online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Good to see you. I'd like to call the July 25th, 2023 City of Morrow meeting to order. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approve the minutes, you all have those before you. Do I hear a motion to approve July 11th, 2022 regular minutes, work session minutes, and executive session minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. Discussion?
Yes, I would like to bring up to the council member attention, and this is not something new. This has been happening for the past over 2 years, that the amendment motion is now being recorded the way it's more verbally called. And I also sent a note of how the motion will go verbally, along with a note and the link to the video recording what minutes was said and when the motion happened for the city clerk, record keeper, the city manager, mayor, and all the councils for the reference of the accuracy of the statement. The first concern is the discussion during the meeting is not recorded. I'm going to go one by one. The first one is the discussion about the meeting minutes is not recorded. During the meeting, Council Tran stated amend motion only recorded. Council Tran request an amend motion, but the substance of the motion, what it needs to be added in the meeting minutes is not recorded. She also asked the city's board to share the substance of the amend motion, and why it's not transparent or if it's legal to record in the meeting minute. Mayor will ask Council Tran to make the amend motion. Council Tran then stated that she did not get the answer from the city clerk yet, and the mayor said the employee doesn't have to respond. So all of that discussion happened in the minutes of 2.56 of the recording of the meeting minutes on July 11th. And then to the second amendment motion is not recorded the way it's will verbally called as well. The amendment motion is to have the report of the amendment motion and the original motion to approve the ordinance 2023-04 reflect the act of having the budget of year 24 adjust after the actual number of the current year is provided is not recorded in the motion. It's not, that act will not be recorded in the meeting minute. And that happened at the minute 6:33 of the recording of the regular meeting posting on city's YouTube channel. And then the remark after the no vote of approving meeting minutes, a motion that the remark was the vote no for approving minutes if the amendment motion is not recorded correct. The amendment motion is recorded incorrect from the amendment motion from the motion number 1 to 4, and the recorded amendment motion after the original motion for ordinance 2023-04, is missing an action that will verbally call in the motion. And that happened, that the city minutes did not record that action, and the action happened from the minutes 7:47 of the recording of the meeting. This recording is also posted on the city YouTube channel, and for the best interest for public record as well as government transparency, and this might be possible legal matter in this matter. I have been asking the city, to the mayor, the city clerk, city council, to have the city attorney to review the recording of the amendment motion, and I never heard about that. And this is ongoing for over 2 years. So tonight I would like to hear from my council member. First of all, I would like to hear from record keeper. Why is he thinking that this is not doesn't have transparent value, or maybe possible legal issue in the recording of the amendment motion?
There's a motion and a second on the table.
Mr. Mayor, it wasn't the motion. It is still in the discussion section, and I'm asking the record keeper, why does he think the action that will verbally caught in an amendment motion is not legal, neither not legal or transparent enough to be recorded into the meeting minute?
Are you willing to make a motion this time?
Mr. Mayor, I'm still waiting for the city clerk to give me an explanation for me to have, as well as the meeting participants tonight, have a better understanding why is the actually verbally called in the meeting in the motion, but doesn't have any value to be recorded in the meeting minute.
Are you willing to make a motion this time?
Mr. Mayor, does that mean that you're not going to let us wait for the responding from this record keeper?
That means you've made your comment, you've asked your question. You're willing to make a motion or amend the existing motion.
Okay. In that case, I have 3 amendments motion to make tonight. So the first amendment motion is I am making an amendment motion to add the following verbatim language into the meeting minutes of the regular meeting date, July 11, 2023. During the meeting, Council Chair stated that the amendment motion only requires Council Chair's request of an amendment motion, but the substance of what needs to be added in the meeting minutes were verbally called but not recorded. She asked the city clerk to share why the substance in the amendment motion is not transparent or doesn't have the legal value to record. Mayor Lembo asked the council chair to make an amendment motion. To make a motion, Council Chair stated that she did not get the answer from the city clerk yet. Mayor Lembo said, employee doesn't have to respond.
Do I hear a second? Hearing none, motion fails. What's your second motion, Mr. Chairman?
My second amendment motion is I am making an amendment motion to add the following verbatim language into the regular meeting date, July 11, 2023. The amendment motion is to have the report of the motion after the original motion to approve ordinance 2023-04 reflect the act of having the budget 2024 adjust after the actual number of the current year are provided to the council.
Do I hear a second? Not hearing a second, motion fails.
And I would like Yeah, I would like to make the last amendment motion, the third amendment motion. I am making an amendment motion to have Council Chair remark after her no vote of approving meeting minutes for the meeting of July 11, 2023, is that the amendment motion recorded are incorrect from the amendment motion from motion number 1 to motion number 4. The record of the amendment motion after the original motion for ordinance 2023-04 is missing an act that was verbally called in the amendment motion.
Do I hear a second? Hearing none, motion fails. Going back to the original motion, already a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Ms. Tran?
Nay, the meeting minutes doesn't incorrect recording of the amendment motion.
Motion carries. Proclamations. Does it feel like somebody turned off the air conditioning in here? Or is it just Did they turn the air conditioning off on purpose? Oh, no. Okay. Is it, I'm hot.
Yes.
I'm looking at y'all fanning yourself, and I'm sitting there going, it can't be just me. You know, the Asian folks, I know y'all think this stuff pretty well. I don't know.
These checked out. You turned it down. It's gonna take a minute.
Now, cities can't do what we do without support. And there's support from citizens, there's support from our business communities, and then there's support from our own organizations. And one of these organizations is basically the Georgia Municipal Association, which has been famous for helping cities, especially small cities, for years. And those cities have people, or the organization has people that are designed to help us. And there's a bunch of them. But occasionally you have to, step out and remind our citizens that when we are at the state legislature, and we got some state legislators in here tonight, these are the people who are acting on our behalf, right? So we don't pay attention to every bill or everything that goes out there, but we do want to make some special recommendations. So we want to recognize Michael McPherson. Michael McPherson is a municipal services consultant with the Georgia Municipal Association. He lobbied the General Assembly during 15 legislative sessions. That was tough, I like that. On behalf of local governments and clients in the fields of mental health, affordable health, healthcare, higher education, and courts. Mr. McPherson is a graduate of Georgia State University. Congratulations, I appreciate that. Where he studied anthropology, I don't know about that, and political science. The elderly couple, and this is a story that's active, but there's an elderly couple, Oscar and Dorothy Mae Wilson. Dorothy Mae, who suffers from dementia, and Oscar suffers from serious health problems, took a home equity loan a decade ago, and due to fraudulent activity, missed several payments of value just under $1,100. The bank had completed a non-judicial foreclosure. The home had been auctioned on the courthouse steps, and the Wilsons were facing a dispossessory, which basically means they're going to be out on the street. Mr. McPherson put City Manager Jeff Baker in touch with the AJC reporter, Bill, who was a part of tipping the scales in the situation to the unexpected and wonderful conclusion, as on Friday, June 30th, 2023, the hand of God was apparent in the miraculous and unforeseen turn of events. The company that had purchased the Wilsons' home signed it over to them free and clear. John Ample, Mayor of the City of Morrow, join all members of the community in recognizing Mr. McPherson as a mentor in the minefield of municipal government and his dedication in helping the Wilsons.
In the work that I do, oftentimes when I'm doing trainings for city officials and city staff, I start off by telling them who I am. I'm born and raised in Georgia, got lots of generations here, and I know that the work that I do impacts the best practices of cities around the state, and it impacts my neighbors, my family, and my friends. And so it's very seldom do I get to see something affect an individual family. And that makes it all the more special. But I can't take all the credit for this. This was started by the mayor and city manager Baker when they sat down and had a conversation with the couple. And I was fortunate enough to be in a spot to analyze the situation once I got a call from Jeff and say, you know what, we gotta get the fourth branch involved here. And it happens sometimes, doesn't it? Right? So I appreciate y'all for coming out and being here. Appreciate you, Jeff and Neil over here, Representative Neil. And thank you so much for all you do for the city of Morrow, Mayor and Council. Without you, it would be a tough road to hoe for these guys. So appreciate it. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
New business, approval of Morrow Police Department recommendation for the purchase of 2 Chevy Malibus totaling $48,306 out of $233,500 budget in the FY24 budget, and to authorize the mayor to execute any and other related documents. You have that discussion before the work session. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Ms. Trainer?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of Morrow Probation Department recommendation for the purchase of 1 Chevy Malibu totaling $24,153 out of total of $65 allocated in FY24 budget. Authorize the mayor to execute on related documents. We have a discussion in the work session. Do I hear a motion to approve? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion all those in favor say aye. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quah?
Aye.
Mr. Train?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the city manager's recommendation to accept the bid for driver Adam Sharp CPA and Fulton Kozak totaling $37,000 and move forward with the contractor to provide auditing services for the city of Warren. Authorize the mayor to execute other related documents. You have discussion in the work session. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
would you please open to the discussion?
Go ahead.
So, this question is for the city manager. That we solicit a sealed bid or a informal bid,
Sealed bid.
okay? And the only company that suggested information, bid information is the only thing that forwarded to the council. Where are the other two?
You have a audit of that from BidNet with all 3 that submitted there. And it's got a summary on
I see in only driver Adam Sharp and Fulton Kozak here. I do not see.
there. You also had Malden
There are-
and Jenkins and
The RC CKH Consulting LLC and Malden and Jenkins are not in the package. Could you help me to locate that?
if you look back in the audit portion on page 3 of 6 of the audit, at the end of your packet, you're gonna see where they submitted their bids, and you will see their bid information, and the date they submitted it, it was electronically submitted for all 3 of those.
Yeah, that is the audit trail from BigNet, the website that we use to solicit the job. But the information, the bidding package that the vendor turned in, I'm not able to locate that in the package.
I can provide that to you later, ma'am. It's not in your packet. I can get that to you.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is that the motion that we have in here saying that we're going to, about to call, well, we already called for the motion, asking to accept the bid from Robert Adam Sharp, CPA in Fulton Kozak, LLC, for a total of $37,000. It doesn't indicate what year that is $37,000 for, but in the bid and back package, it showed that multiple years. So with this $37,000, what year are we?
2022.
What is the year date, the end date of the year 22?
It would be for the fiscal year 2022,
Could you provide me the date?
for the end of the fiscal year.
Yes, please.
That would be June 30th.
22?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for that information. In the bid and the package showing in front of me, wait a second, I'm going to that page. And the cost proposal for audit service 2-year schedule for City of Morrow say June 30th, 2022, $37,000, and June 30, 2023, $40,700. So the bid appeared to turn in for 2 years. So are we able to accept partial of the bid, or we accept the whole bid? Have the
I'm asking the council to accept them as our auditors and to go back and reauthorize the expenditure of the $37,000 for fiscal year 22, a portion of which was already paid to Malden and Jenkins, who have failed to comply with their contract, and we don't have our audit yet. So I would like to, while we're trying to recover that information and the monetary expenditure with them, and then we already have a budget in 2023, so if we're approved our auditors here, then we'll use our budgeted amount to cover the 2023.
So we're using the budget of year 24 to cover the audit fee of year 22 with the fiscal year date end June 30th, 2022.
The 2024 budget will cover the fiscal year 23 audit, which is already in the budget, which we cannot start until after the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th.
Have we got the attorney in to have a look to see if we can partially accept the bid? Because the bid doesn't turn into 37,000. The bid package comes in at 37,000 for the year end June 30, 22, and 40,000 plus 40,700 for year end June 30, 2023. We got the city attorney to give us an advice. Can we have the authority to accept the bid partially? And if we do so, did we give the equal opportunity to other bid participants?
It is a typical bid, ma'am, and what it is to replace the failure of the contract, fulfillment of the contractual obligations of our previous auditors. So what I'm asking is to use them to cover the last year's audit that wasn't completed, as well as become the auditor on record for us for the current fiscal year that we need to have done for the immediate previous year.
Thank you for that clarification. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Motion properly seconded.
I'm going to make an amendment motion. And the amendment motion is to have the city attorney reveal, to give the legal advice whether we can accept the bid partially and or not. That's the end of the motion.
Do I hear a second? Hearing none, motion fails. Going back to the original motion. Got a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. Quah?
Aye.
And Ms. Turner?
Nay, because previous who participate into this project, only one provided to the council. I cannot make the decision now. This will be unfair to the other bidders. And also, I'm unclear whether we have the legal authority to accept the bid partially from one bidder, but not for offer the same opportunity to the other two.
Okay. Now, we're going to go into general comments. I'll talk about that in just a second, and then we'll go into executive session after. Okay? We will eventually come out of executive session and then we'll adjourn our meeting. For those that want to have a discussion or other things after whatever discussion we already have, in a community room that actually has air conditioning, that's just right outside that door over there to the left where you found a wonderful coffee, and you're welcome to do that. Now, we realize we have an audience. We have an audience that wants to be heard. We realize we have an audience that is both residents of our city and some of them are not. Okay? So we want to be respectful. And this isn't Jerry Springer though. So this is a point where you get to make your point. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a lot of discussion back and forth. Okay? We'll come up with some arrangement, as I'm just kind of making it up as I go along. And you will come to the dais and just kind of state your name and what road you live on. That'll help. For the most part, we're elected by the citizens of Morrow first. So I think it's only fair, for those people to have a right. So if you're a citizen of Morrow and you would like to speak, please raise your hand.
Good boy.
Sir. And it should be noted, the young lady that is sitting over there in the pillar is a translator. So depending on what language we're speaking in, she'll be able to translate as it's being stated.
Đúng rồi, đúng rồi.
By all means.
So my name is Oscar Lessa Mejia. I live, for the mayor's request, I live on Central Parkway. I live on Central Parkway, and I would like to thank the council and the city of Morrow generally for affording me the opportunity to speak here today. I believe that discussions like this are integral to our democracy, and they only make us stronger. The reason I wanted to come down here today and say a few words is because of an AJC article that was shared with me about 5 days ago concerning a conversation that occurred here in the council chambers. Now, I have been a proud resident of Morrow for going on 21-ish years now. I had the privilege of attending Morrow Elementary, Morrow Middle, and Morrow High School. So I've been around for a while, and I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So when I read things like that, it fuels something in me to come and kind of make my voice heard, right? Because at the end of the day, right, that's all we have, our voice, our opinion, and if we go unheard, it just doesn't work out. In those 21 years that I've been in Morrow, I left for a short time to pursue a political science degree at Georgia State University, and after that I went to Emory and got my JD. After I got a job, I decided to come back to Morrow because, as I've been saying, I love the city and I love the people. Growing up here, I had the opportunity to be involved with many diverse communities, including the Vietnamese community. A lot of my classmates growing up were Vietnamese. I got to go to their houses a lot, meet their parents, enjoy their delicious food. Me, myself, I am Hispanic Latino. My parents are Honduran immigrants who came here many years ago with aspirations for a better life for me. I was born here, so I've been a citizen all my life. They, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to see it, have not been citizens their entire lives. They came here in their 30s. After they came here, they, of course, did their best to learn the language and obtain mastery over it, right? But due to their upbringing, there are always going to be gaps. So I believe, like Councilwoman Tran, that equal language access on ballots are very important. I think people should be able to know what it is that they're voting on specifically.
Yes.
Now, Mike, thank you. Thank you all so much. I appreciate the support. They should be able to know what they vote on specifically in specific terms. Now, they speak English, both of my parents, right? My friends' parents, most of them speak English. But a lot gets lost in the more technical terms, associated with whatever may be on the ballot, right? And for that reason, I do support Councilwoman Tran's petition to make that kind of access available to them, right? Because how it currently works is my mom asks me like, hey, what's this thing on the ballot? And I explain it to her, which I'm happy to do, but I think she could make better and more informed decisions if that information was available to her in her own language. So thank you, Councilwoman Tran, for defending that kind of access and for promoting that. I, my parents, my friends' parents, everyone like them is very appreciative to you for that. So thank you. And the other, part of the article referenced Councilwoman Dorothy Dean. And Councilwoman Dorothy Dean, I don't agree with your statements. I agree with, of course, your right to make them known and to say them, but the content of them came off to me personally as xenophobic and anti-immigrant. Now, I'm sure you are not xenophobic or anti-immigrant. I would love to have a discussion with you in the community chambers after this to kind of discuss where that sentiment comes from. But there is nothing, in my opinion, more American than voting. And to give access to these citizens and to allow them to vote and understand what they're voting on would be very, very much American. So thank you everyone for your time.
Next.
Kính thưa ông thị trưởng, kính thưa quý vị đại biểu của thành phố Morrow, tôi Lê Bảo Bối, một ở trong thành phố này mà khi mà nghe cái tin cô Vân là nghị viên của người Việt đề xướng một cái chương trình có ích cho người Việt và người Hispanic để biết trong cái việc làm của thành phố và bầu cử thì có một nghị viên để xúc phạm một cách mạnh mẽ, và tôi nghĩ đây là cái hành động mà có kỳ thị nữa trong cái miệt thị của bà Đinh đối với cô nghị viên Trần, thì chúng tôi rất là bức xúc và cực liệt phản đối cái tư tưởng mà mang tính cách kỳ thị ở chỗ này. Bởi vì nước Mỹ là đa dân tộc, nước Mỹ là đa quốc gia, là một Trung Quốc, ai có tuổi từ 18 tuổi lên có quyền bầu cử và đi ứng cử. Nếu không phạm pháp trở thành nghị viên là người đó được tôn trọng và được có quyền thay mặt cho những cử tri người ta bầu lên. Mà bà dám xúc phạm là chị không xứng đáng là nghị viên. Tại sao chị nói chứ chúng tôi bỏ cái phiếu đây, chúng tôi không xứng đáng. Chúng tôi phản đối và cực kỳ phản đối, và cảm ơn tất cả quý vị ở đây. Tôi thiết nghĩ rằng nên có một cái chương trình cho người Việt, người Mễ ở đây người ta có cái tiếng nói và có ngôn ngữ ở trong các sinh hoạt của cộng đồng của thành phố chúng ta để phát triển càng mạnh mẽ hơn. Nếu chúng ta mang cái kỳ thị và miệt thị như vậy thì gây chia rẽ mấy đặc cái kinh tế chắc cũng phát triển được. Tôi xin phép rồi, xin cảm ơn.
Mr. Boy is the resident of City Morrow, and he would like like to greet Mr. Mayor and the council.
He wants to greet the mayor and the city council, firstly, and then he was supporting this council trend on the proposal of the petition, the Hispanic language and the Vietnamese language on the voting ballot. And he fully supported because it's united the people and they participate in the voting. And also he against Councilwoman Dorothy Dean that declined the voting, and then also discriminate some of her comments from last meeting, discriminate the Vietnamese and dividing, separating the people. And he say that America is where we are celebrate multicultural and diversity. And the way that Councilwoman Dorothy Dean did is splitting the diversity in the city and also decline people access to vote.
And racist.
And racist, yes. And he would like an apology from Councilwoman Dean. Anything else I missed?
You just want to thank his time.
Oh, thank you for your time for listening to him.
Thank you. Next president, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council. My name is Hugh Nguyen, and I'm the resident of City of Morrow for the past 20 years. As a City of Morrow resident and your constituent, I would like to share my concern over the discriminatory remark that Councilwoman Dorothy Dean toward Councilwoman Tran about the petition multi-language voting ballot that Hispanic Americans and Vietnamese Americans access to cast their native language in their native language. I'm deeply disappointed and heartbroken when I watched Councilwoman Dean call Councilwoman Tran un-American, unfaithful to her oath. Those remarks are fully wrong and anti-immigrants. When your previous campaign that you say you are the leader for all people. According to the language minority provision of the Voting Rights Act, Section 1203, language minority provision of the Voting Rights Act require when cover the state political subdivisions, provide the registration or voting notice, form, instruction, assistance, or other material or information related to the electoral process, including ballot, and shall provide them in the language of the applicable, the minority group, such as English language. Cover the language of the minority are the limited American Indian, Asian American, Alaskan Native, and Spanish heritage citizen. The group of the Congress found faces the barrier of political progress. Your denial of the voting rights, such minority group citizen, is ordinarily directly unequal education opportunity effort and result of high illiteracy and low voting participation. It is necessary for the City of Morrow to eliminate such discrimination. I ask Mr. Mayor and City Council take immediate action to condemn Councilwoman Dean to the discrimination behavior and serve the people equally, to protect our voting rights and let the people practice their civil rights. The people of City of Morrow deserve our public officials high integrity, high quality of behavior without prejudice, from their country of origin. Thank you for listening.
Citizen, please. Miss,
I'm just here tonight as probably the oldest resident here. I've butcher, 68 years. It's the only place I voted all my life since I was 18. I'm proud of my city. I love my city. I want these ladies to make amends amongst themselves if they have to get along and to mend their differences and to make forward for this city to grow. The Asian community has given so much to our city in the economy. They brought so much wealth to us in the last 10 years. I love my Asian community. They're very important to our business and our community, and I just really pray that you get this matter solved for everyone. That's my prayers of all. Oh, thank you.
Resident of the city?
President, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good evening, honorable council, mayor, to the residents, visitors, everyone here. I only want to say that I was present during the council meeting when the communication took place. I believe it's better when you are able to understand a context for which a comment is made. I believe it's not what you do, but it's how you do it. I believe, based on what I was hearing in last week's meeting, that to approach a family-friendly event put on by the city of Morrow for its residents, Freedom Fireworks, and to take this event and use it as an opportunity to push forward your belief because you were not satisfied with a motion that didn't carry.
Isn't that the law?
Sir,
It's the law, it's the law.
We must also determine what state law requires as well as federal. However,
we'll get a chance to be heard. This is not Jerry's premiership. Okay?
listening to the communication and the interaction of what transpired at the Freedom Works Festival, I believe it would have been inappropriate to bring a political agenda to a family-friendly event. All of you are here now. All of you weren't here then. All of you are here now. You won't be here next week. All of you are here now because you feel as though you've been offended by what you've heard and not what you've experienced. I pray that we all take the opportunity to study our laws, federal and state, to access and make use of family members who are fluent in English to help you better understand what the verbiage and language is on the voting ballot. There are many different nationalities in the state of Georgia. There are many different nationalities in the city of Morrow. And if you can imagine how much it would cost to appease everyone's language or language barrier, we'd go broke. I would hope that you would assist each other, just as there was a translator to assist us in understanding what was being said. It's how it's presented that matters. And I pray that we can move from these signs and these feelings and continue to uplift the city of Morrow. Thank you.
And that stage name and this district you live on. So again, how do you do that?
Good evening, Mayor and board members. My name is Maggie Martinez. I'm the owner of Southbound PR Firm, Biden delegate, congressional leader for the Democratic Party in Clayton County, and recently nominated by Representative Neal to be part of the voter protection team. Also, I am a retired teacher of Georgia, teaching Spanish as a second language. I know firsthand how difficult it is to learn a second language, especially English. I am here to support Councilwoman Van Trent on having translated ballots for our neighborhoods by 2024 presidential election. I am the daughter of a Puerto Rican family, and we moved to the state, and even though we are U.S. citizens, our main language is Spanish. I help my family with everything from paperwork, translation, and guidance, especially during voting season. When we stand in line to vote, my family feels secure, but they will often ask me, I don't know English, how am I going to do this? Or what they say, you know. And I want this to happen, two things. I want this new accommodation on the ballot to help the constituents have more autonomy in their life and citizens of our community. And second, to have access to these resources like registering to vote and ballots in the language without needing a translator to accompany them every time they vote. The voting process should be secret. For sure, this will help increase the participation of the non-English speakers. Over the summer, Morrow Councilwoman Beltran was insulted by her colleague, Councilwoman Dorothy Dean, in their shared chamber for proposing translate votes in Vietnamese and Spanish. Councilwoman Tran was labeled disturbing, and her action, and I quote, un-American, said by Councilwoman Dorothy. When I look at Clayton County, I think of our cultural richness and how we show up for another to get things done, and America, as an American, as a whole, is not different. American has no official language, and be American is to expect more from what your democracy can offer. I hope the constituent, can feel more independent and welcome in performing our civic duty with the new ballots in Vietnamese and Spanish. And I will not rest, Mayor Temple, until this happens. So we will be presenting this to the Board of Election also. Thank you so much.
Other residents of the city of Morrow.
I'll keep my remarks short because I want to make sure that those here in solidarity with the Asian American community and non-English speakers will have a chance to be heard. My name is Elena Reeves. I live in Northridge Condominiums here in the city of Morrow. I grew up in Clayton County. My first job was literally down the street at South Lake Mall. I've been a homeowner in Morrow for the last 5 years, and I'm disappointed at the attention that Morrow is receiving because we are a diverse and vibrant community. And we need to do a better job of embracing the cultures, languages, and identities of everyone who lives in the city of Morrow. And as a Black woman, I know how hard my ancestors fought for us to be able to vote. Yes. Civil rights leaders and even some of the folks in this room have fought to expand the right to vote. When Dr. King marched, when Andrew Young preached, and when John Lewis was bludgeoned in the head, it was for every person to have the ability for the right to vote.
That's right.
As a resident of Morrow and Clayton County, I support that everyone has access to the ballot in the language that is best for them, and any accommodations that allows for their voice to be heard. I want to see Morrow, the other cities in Clayton County, and Clayton County as a whole expand access to the ballot and ensure that everyone has the right to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak it.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Manuel Guillermo Revuelta, and I've lived in Morrow over 40 years. My father came here as a physician in the 70s to McDonough, Georgia, but both my mom and dad were from Cuba, a place where their voting rights were taken away, and all of a sudden a so-called revolution came in and took their voting rights away and all of their freedoms, and then they came to America without anything. My father was a doctor. He went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where I was born, and luckily, due to that, I am an American citizen by birth. I don't have a speech prepared or anything. I am a graduate of Morrow High School, 1984 class. I'm not a public speaker or anything, but just a citizen, and I too love America, and I don't know what is un-American about voting and being able to understand what you're checking off as the person that you would like to vote, and not be worried if an interpreter comes that they're going to see you, what you're voting for and who you're voting for, because that takes away the privacy. So that is why it's so important for everyone here. Morrow is truly an international community, and I'll tell you, because I've lived here. I love it very dearly, and I don't like people being called un-American. I think we're all Americans here for the most part, I think, right, everybody? That's right. So we just need to get along. I would like to know where all the people in the Clayton County politics are. I know that one lady spoke, but where's everyone else in the politicians in Clayton County? I want to know what they think. Sir, Representative, I would like to know what you think about this. Everyone here, because we all do have the right to discuss this, bring it out in the open, and work it out together. Not just say, hey, you know, we're going to do it this way. That's why there's all these motions. I'm not a man of politics. I don't know about all the motions, seconds, and all that, the parliamentary procedures. But I do know about love. I know about humanity. I know about peace. And I know about freedom. Because my parents didn't have it. It was taken from them. And America is getting more and more like that every day. And I see it right before my very eyes. So I just wanted to say good evening, and I love y'all, and peace.
Any other citizen of Morrow?
I am a citizen.
Oh, I know that, sir.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm just giving them a chance to speak first.
Thank you.
All right, so every citizen of Morrow that wanted an opportunity to speak has had an opportunity to speak. Fair enough. Then we will start with those that are not residents of Morrow. We'll start with a representative who represents.
Yes, thank you to the council. Thank you to those that are here. My name is State Representative Yasmin Neal. Morrow is one of the cities that I represent. I have heard the back and forth on both sides. I don't want to take sides. The conversation I want to have with you all tonight is about unity. I have friends on both sides of the aisle, Republican, Democrat, and different. I have friends of all walks of life, regardless of your color, race, or creed. This community, for the longest time, has been a family-oriented community. You see it from the events, you see it from the attendance that we have at the events. I've attended events for the Asian community, Hispanic community, and even the Muslim community, because I represent all of those people. We are one Clayton. I don't care who you are. We all deserve equal access, period. There's no disagreement about that. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your creed may be. We all just simply deserve access. Now, there are processes that would need to go through. Maybe the city council is not the process. It might be the county commission. That's the process. But once we nail down the process, whatever that is, however that vote goes, we should respect it and also respect one another. We don't need to use this moment to divide us. The history of this country has had countless moments of all races, especially blacks, going to events, marching, protesting, you name it. No matter what your culture or your ethnicity, there has been a time when each of our cultures and ethnicities have had to rally together and go to events, pass out flyers, you name it, to get our voices heard and get our vision across, just like African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement. Every ethnicity and culture deserves to have that opportunity to organize, get your word out, and see if you can get your concept passed. I do get the differences. I would like to see these two women resolve their differences and don't let this moment break us. We have to find a way forward together. I'm also the chair of the Clayton County delegation of the House and the chair of the county party as well. And from what I have seen, and you've seen it already, outside of this room, outside of the city, the world is fighting. The world is fighting one another. And up until this moment, we weren't doing that here, and we don't have to let this be the end of what we consider a peaceful home. So everyone should find a way to move forward together. The world outside of Morrow, the world outside of Clayton County is fighting itself. We don't need to fight ourselves here. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta, a nonprofit legal advocacy organization. I have a PhD in cultural anthropology and am an expert on language policies concerning voting and elections in the United States. First of all, I want to call your attention to an email signed by over 25 voting and immigrant rights organizations in Georgia and sent to Mayor and Portland City Council this afternoon. In that email, we express deep concern about Councilwoman Dean's recent comments and call on Morrow City Council to work with Clayton County on making elections more accessible for language minority voters. And I would like to remind my fellow Asian American and Latinx Georgians to remind us that our struggle is connected to the struggle of Black Americans and resist resorting to anti-Black racism in response to this incident. As many Morrow residents have already expressed, the fact is that there are no federal or Georgia state laws prohibiting either individuals, local governments, businesses, or any other entity from using languages using languages other than other than English in elections or otherwise. Moreover, there are actually laws in place to ensure that the rights of language minority individuals are protected. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act recognizes linguistic discrimination as a form of national origin discrimination and requires recipients of federal funding to ensure their programs, services, and activities are accessible to language minority individuals. Similarly, Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act, which draws its inspiration from the literacy test used to suppress Black voters, acknowledges that language minority voters are susceptible to discrimination at the polls and outlines provisions to minimize language-related barriers to participating in the democratic process. We recognize that securing official votable ballots and forms is complicated and not entirely up to City Council, but there are still opportunities for reducing language-related barriers to participating in elections by, for example, providing bilingual signage and sample ballots, and that it is a worthy effort to work towards translated votable ballots. We know that the council, as public servants, all care that residents of Morrow are engaged in civic life. Providing election information and ballots in Vietnamese, Spanish, or any other language is not a threat to English speakers. It is an attempt to expand opportunities, increase engagement, and reduce language barriers for voters. In Morrow, a diverse city that's 40% Black, 1/3 Asian, and about 20% Latinx, all groups that are targets of voter suppression, we should celebrate and support all efforts to ensure that every eligible voter is able to exercise their right to vote. Thank you.
We raise the hands of the people who might have an interest in speaking so we can just kind of get some idea how many people we're talking about here. Okay, tell you what we'll do. We'll just kind of grab on this side until we're done. So the gentleman that was going to come up here, just go ahead, and then we'll kind of fill in. We won't miss you. And just state your name and some idea where you're from.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Garcia, and I work for an advocacy organization named Galeno Impact Fund. We advocate for the rights of Latino and immigrant communities throughout Georgia. And over 20% of Morrow's population identify as Hispanic or Latino. I'm not a resident of Morrow, but I am a child of immigrants. My parents are both from El Salvador and are now U.S. citizens. They don't speak English. Both of my parents have less than a 6th grade education. My parents are what the Voting Rights Act identifies as limited English proficient voters, voters who have been systematically excluded from the electoral process. Federal protections expanding voting access to limited English proficient voters exist for a reason. These populations have been intentionally excluded from the electoral process. As enacted in 1965 and amended in 1982 and 2006, Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act requires that a state or political subdivision in certain circumstances must provide language assistance during elections for groups of citizens who are unable to speak or understand English well enough to participate in the process. Section 203 states, whenever any state or political subdivision covered by the section provides registration or voting notices, forms, instructions, assistance, or other materials or information relating to the electoral process, including ballots, it shall provide them in the language of the applicable minority group as well as in the English language. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 is a landmark piece of federal legislation in the U.S. that prohibits racial discrimination in voting. Expanding access to limited English proficient voters is a very American thing to do. Thank you.
My name is Bonnie Heenan. I'm not a citizen of the city of Morrow, but I have driven all the way from Tucker, Georgia, Gwinnett County to attend today, because when I heard the remarks coming from Councilwoman Dean, and I brought a portrait of Congressman John Lewis, who holds a place of great reverence in my heart, and I hang him on the mantle of my fireplace, because I know what he fought for. I have crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I wept when John Lewis died. I went to his grave to honor his memory. And Councilwoman Dean, you and I are not so different, because I know you value the civil rights heroes that have come before us. That's why you ran for political office. That is why Councilwoman Tran ran for political office. And actually, when I read the AJC and I look at the makeup of this city council, I see the attempt here, more than anywhere else, the attempt to achieve a more perfect union. You have Asian Americans, you have Black Americans, you have a Hispanic city clerk, you have a white mayor. So when you see this attempt to achieve a more perfect union, and yet you see the words that divide, it really hurts my heart. I practiced immigration law for almost 20 years. I have helped immigrants become US citizens, some of whom struggled so hard to pass that exam that they literally wept when they walked out the door. So when I hear you accuse Councilwoman Tran of being un-American when she is doing the most American thing, to help others achieve the right to vote, to help others make this country a more perfect union, to make sure that the right to vote, which Congressman John Lewis said was the most precious and sacred tool of nonviolence in order to achieve a more perfect union. That is why I'm here today. I know you and I do not know your past, but I read enough to know that you helped achieve the city to write a proclamation recognizing Juneteenth for the city of Morrow. So I know you are committed to the legacy of civil rights, but when you invoke that you marched in Mississippi as a young child for civil rights, it was not meant so you could shut the door behind you for others to participate in their democracy.
Yes.
The city of Morrow is a promise of tomorrow, not going back to yesterday. And that's what I hope this dialogue will achieve, for you to understand how much your words have hurt this community, the Asian American and the Latinx community who have come out today to speak up because you have accused a fellow council member who had the strength and courage to run for office when I know English was not her first language, and she's trying to help others achieve that sense of democracy. That is why we are here today. And you're right, we may not be here in the following weeks, but we are here today. And I hope you understand what the legacy of giants like Martin Luther King Jr. and Congressman John Lewis fought for, so that we could all participate in this democracy. A petition To grant language multilingual ballots does not threaten our democracy, it strengthens it. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am State Representative Sandra G. Scott, the Chief Deputy Whip of the House Democratic Caucus.
That's right.
And today, I stand before you to advocate for a fundamental principle of democracy, the inclusion of voting ballots in all languages. The right to vote is the cornerstone of our democratic society, and we must ensure that every eligible citizen can participate fully in the election process, regardless of their linguistic background. Language is an essential part of one's identity and culture. When we provide voting ballots in multiple languages, we embrace the diversity that enriches our nation. We recognize that our country is a tapestry of cultures, languages, and traditions, all woven together to create a vibrant and dynamic society. By offering ballots in different languages, we demonstrate our commitment to inclusivity and equal representation for all. One of the most critical aspects of any democratic system is that it must reflect the voices of all its citizens. Language barriers should never stand in the way of exercising this right. When we make voting accessible in various languages, we empower communities that might otherwise feel marginalized or overlooked. It ensures that their concerns, hopes, and dreams are heard and taken into account by our elected representatives. Moreover, having voting ballots in multiple languages is not only an ethical obligation, but also a practical necessity. Our country's linguistic diversity is a reality, and we must adapt to it to guarantee a fair and transparent electoral process. Providing ballots in multiple languages promotes voter engagement and increases voter turnout among different communities, leading to a stronger, more representative democracy. Critics may argue that this would be a complex and costly endeavor. However, we must remember that investing in democracy is investing in the future of our nation.
That's right.
Voters can cast their ballot in a language they understand far outweigh any initial challenge. Besides, technology can help streamline the process, making it more efficient and cost-effective. In conclusion, let us remember that language should never be a barrier to civic participation. By providing voting ballots in all languages, we uphold the values of democracy, embrace our cultural diversity, and strengthen our collective voice. Let us work together to ensure that every eligible citizen can exercise their right to vote and contribute to building a better, more inclusive society for all. And again, like everyone has said and stated, I truly hope that Morrow can get over this and move forward. You all have been doing some great work together, and I pray that you all continue to do the great work that you have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lê Doan. I am Public Relations Director of the Vietnamese American Community of Georgia, and also the Vice President of the Vietnamese Women of Georgia. I live in Vietnam, but because of my role as a public relations, I travel to Morrow more than many times in Morrow, working with all different community, with the seniors. They have their address here. As you know, the population of Morrow has over 1,500 Vietnamese and over 1,500 Latinos. We see that the English second language population make up close to half of the city, and the city is growing. We are proud Americans, and of course, English is our second language, including myself. Many our elders and families, they fought and died alongside with their ally, the American, during the war, Vietnam War. And for an elected official to call us un-American, for demanding a right to vote, the language to have it in the ballot is not un-American. Because I know myself, I volunteer doing the voting, working, knocking on door, try to asking the citizen and helping to fill out the application, explaining all the bill, what it's mean. So all my work is out there. I know what is needed and what they're asking. If you have somebody interested in voting and they don't know what they're voting for, the bill comes out, even you speaking the language, how many of you are out here that you understand the bill? Honestly. Because if you're not expert in that, you will not know. Even myself, I have to go and ask, what is this mean? What is the pro and what's the con? So you have to spell out the language, and which is English, right? But you still not understand what it's saying, because it's technical. They have their own language. So you are expecting a person, English is their second language, to understand that? And that's why we don't have slam the vote, because people shy from it. Okay? And I'm talking to all the citizens, not just the Vietnamese or Latino or minority. So when the council chair proposing to have different languages on the ballot, we are happy, because this is not violate any law like others. A speaker of before me have said. If the language is 5% or more, they have the right to have the language on the ballot. And we know that, we know the law, okay? As an elected officer, you should represent all of us. And you should know that outreach and to the underserved community should be encouraged, not intimidated. Morrow should be welcome to the diversity, and as a community that diverse, the officer should reflect that. Do not have the best interest in the community if you not see that is a need. Therefore, for the best interest in the community, Councilwoman Dinh have inflicted on the Vietnamese and the limited English proficiency community, and we urge the mayor and the council to apologize to the people of Morrow and allowing Councilwoman Dinh hateful remarks to go unaddressed and not letting Council Chair to respond. As a member of the Vietnamese community and the minority, we demand an apology of this council, mayor of these chambers. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Song Wen. I am the Vice President of Young Democrats of Clayton County, and although I do not live in Morrow, I had the privilege of attending Morrow High School and graduated as valedictorian just last year. In order to support Councilwoman Brown, I'm having translated ballots for our neighborhoods for the next presidential election. I live in a Vietnamese immigrant household. I help my family with everything from paperwork to grocery store memberships, and especially during the voting season. When you're not fluent in English, especially as an elderly, and if you don't have grandchildren, your schedule always hangs on someone else's calendar. You want to go to Monday, the translator's busy. If you schedule Wednesday, the translator has another day. And they deserve better than that. Morrow has so much cultural richness, but we recognize it most often on the economics front, from restaurants to shops, more than we do in civic duty. And that is to say, we recognize immigrants more from what they offer and what they bring to the table than who they are as people. The work that Councilwoman Dean has done in her youth, alongside Black, Indigenous, and other women of color, cannot be forgotten, because it has built to these moments when a Vietnamese woman can count on Councilwoman Dean's support, as a colleague instead of being othered. And I hope that your constituents, who are language minorities, can see that you stand behind them to do what American citizens have the right to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council of Morrow. I'm Victoria Nguyen. I am not a resident of Morrow, but I am a community leader who works in the language access space for more than close to 20 years. And I'm also a partner of the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, which is a national organization, a nonpartisan civil rights organization that protects and promotes the voting rights of Asian Americans. And I believe they have sent a letter to the mayor and city council just yesterday of this letter, and I just wanted to pull a few excerpts out. Contrary to Ms. Dean's, Councilwoman Dean's comments, the United States does not have an official language, and citizens do not swear an allegiance to the English language as part of their oath of citizenship. And I see that there could be some misinformation or misunderstanding of what some of the laws and pieces are. And so I just want to take some time to kind of pull some excerpts out so that the information is provided to the council. ALDEF has filed federal lawsuits and entered into settlement agreements to enforce protections of the Voter Rights Act. They have successfully enforced Voter Rights Act protections in various cities and states like Michigan, Texas, Massachusetts, Boston, New York City, and several others. And ALDEF works in partnership with the community and communities like Morrow and individuals from Morrow. And I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that in 1975, Congress amended the Federal Voting Rights Act, VRA, to include protections for the limited English proficient citizens under Section 203. And what does that mean, right? To be able to cast a fully informed ballot. The U.S. Congress found that Asian Americans, Latinos, Alaska Natives, Native Americans, maybe some other residents and constituents in this city that maybe we have not accounted for in this conversation, that these communities face significant barriers to electoral participation because many were not fully proficient in English. And in response, Congress enacted the language assistance provisions under Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act targeting these populations. And jurisdictions are covered under Section 203 of the Voting Rights when the Director of Bureau of Census certifies that 5% or more than 10,000 voting age citizens in town or county speak another language, are limited to English speaking, and have a higher literacy rate than the national literacy rate. So over 300 covered jurisdictions must translate ballots, voter registration forms, voting instructions, and other voting materials be provided in English. This is where I encourage the council to review that data. To also look at the number of constituents that will qualify. They must also provide translated oral assistance on election matters at polling places. The list of covered jurisdictions and languages for translated voting materials is now updated every 5 years, and as a result of the 2006 amendments to the VRA. Section 203 encourages local election officials to work with local community-based organizations to develop effective bilingual election programs which meet the needs of the voters they serve. Councilwoman Tran, I applaud you, and this is me speaking as a community member, as a leader of the Vietnamese community, but also speaking on behalf of the Vietnamese voting population and residents here and the people of Morrow, and including and making sure that we also have translated materials in Spanish. And Morrow has publicly and explicitly reasonably requested the city of Morrow serve significant Asian American and Hispanic residents by taking measures to meet these language needs. And as a community, we recommend that the city of Morrow meet with local community-based Vietnamese, Latino organizations, and many of the other communities that may have not been included in this conversation to develop an effective bilingual election program which serve those those in the community of Morrow. And the comments made by Ms. Dean, Councilwoman Dean, directed at Councilwoman Tran, were very disturbing and displayed an alarming disregard for the language assistance provisions of the Voting Rights Act and the rights of Morrow's language minority voters. It was disrespectful, and the disrespect was directed at Councilwoman Tran, and was not restricted to the attacks by Ms. Dean, but also concerning was the mayor's refusal to allow Councilwoman Tran to respond.
That's right.
Despite her explicit request and attempt to do so. And these types of xenophobic rhetoric and actions harm communities of color. And as a person of color, a Vietnamese American woman, and an Asian American leader who has been working in this space, it was extremely disheartening to watch. I did make my attempts to reach out to you, Councilwoman Dean, via email, to speak to you, because I know that hopefully, were not your true intentions to separate our communities, right? To make a community feel othered, to make a community feel like they're not welcomed here in the city of Morrow. And I hope that we are able to have that conversation either in a separate room or for you to follow up with many of the community leaders here that would like to talk to you, would like to explain to you, right, why it is hurtful. And this is not the only opportunity, right, for you to also express and in your response to this community. We are here, right, to help you get the information that you need, but also give you an opportunity, right, to make this right, to learn from the community, to work with the community, right, so that we can work together as a united front to make sure that everyone in the city of Morrow is able to vote if they're eligible. And Councilwoman Dean, you mentioned that, many of the people marched in the line to protest to get the right to vote, and I'm so glad you brought that up. But I'm saddened to say that when you brought that up, you're also not acknowledging and addressing that many of our Vietnamese community leaders, our Asian American leaders, they stand on the shoulders of giants like Congressman John Lewis, Martin Luther King, and so many of the other, that we are not separate from that conversation, that we have benefited and that we have respected so many of those community leaders for some time. And you've heard from Bonnie Yoon. And, I've had the opportunity to sit with Congressman John Lewis when he was alive on multiple occasions, locally here in Atlanta as well as in DC. We've shared tears together on the hate that was impacting our communities, and not just the African American communities, the Latin community, the Latinx community, the Vietnamese, the Asian American community. And many of our elders and family members, fought alongside American soldiers during the war and came here as proud Americans and continue to become proud Americans, new Americans of this great, great country, right? And probably, the city of Morrow. And to say that many of the parents, many of the individuals who speak English as a second language, who are asking for the rights to vote in their language as un-American, that was completely inappropriate, discriminatory, and could be viewed as xenophobic. And so again, I encourage you, Councilwoman Dean and the council, to really reach out to the community organizers, the individuals in this community, and work with us, right, to make this right, to learn, to invite national groups, to invite experts in this space, to learn about the laws, right, and really make that apology to the community, right? Everybody is still in the process of learning. I don't expect any of the city council members to have all the laws, to know all of the ins and outs of the Voting Rights Act, but it is your responsibility to learn. It is your responsibility to retract statements, your responsibility to apologize to the communities that you've hurt, intentionally or unintentionally, and that is your responsibility. And again, I encourage you to reach out to the community as we are here, as you can see. We may not be here in the weeks to come or days to come, but just know that we are serving the city of Morrow's residents, even in Atlanta.
regionally or nationally. So I thank you for your time, and I strongly encourage, condemn the statements, and ask that the City Council make the apologies to the community, but also set up efforts, right, and actions to make sure that these communities are heard, and also that these communities can participate fully in the democratic process of voting. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Cam T. Ashling. I am not a resident of Morrow. I am a resident of Forsyth County, way up there. I was a resident of Gwinnett County. My people and our community have been very active there, and I do a lot of election work. And while I do a lot of election work, I also do a lot of civil rights, voter suppression type of work. Okay, we've been suing the state of Georgia, different counties over election laws and rules to represent our community, probably since 2018, right? We're lawsuit right now. It's very disheartening to have to come down here, really. I had great thoughts of Morrow. Way back then, the first Asian American elected person came from where? Morrow, right? Our good friend Hank Tran, right? Yes. This is a history-making city as far as I'm concerned. You guys have done incredible things, and you have an amazing population. I was so heartbroken to watch this video when Councilwoman Tran had a petition out for breaking down barriers to voting, which is what I saw it was to be, to have multilingual access so that more Vietnamese American and more Hispanic Americans and more people can come and vote. I mean, seriously, look into your soul. Why are you scared of this? There is some kind of fear. Are you afraid that if these Asian people or these Hispanics come out and vote, that you have no job? What is the concern? That should not be the concern. If you are serving the people will elect you. This should not be a barrier and a cause to then commit voter suppression on a majority city, which is what Morrow is. Okay? You really need to apologize, Councilwoman Dean. If you don't apologize, you really should resign. Okay? You really should resign because you represent a very diverse community here, right? And it is not in your heart to allow people to have a voice. You should not be pretending to be their voice. Okay, you should resign and let somebody else with the heart and the care for the Vietnamese community, the Black community, the Caucasian community, and everybody to feel like they belong here and not be othered and not to have their voice suppressed and crushed and be called un-American. Okay? You are being un-American. You should consider resigning and let somebody else with the heart to do this, to continue to do this work. Because I don't think you must not understand what voting rights is. I feel like, have we not had this entire election multiple times now, and that we're fighting all these barriers to the polls. Georgia is a battleground state. You guys know this, right? And I'm really glad to see the end of ACP here too. Okay, we are a battleground state. What does that mean? Our vote counts like nothing else. Okay, not only do we impact local city races, we impact national policy. Okay? You're with me? That means everybody here, every single person's vote counts so much that when it gets suppressed in the city of Morrow, you are suppressing the entire state of Georgia because we are a battleground state. We flip the Senate, we flip the presidency, we are going to flip everything else we want to flip because we have that power. Don't crush us, you make amends by getting Hispanic voters out and getting your Asian American Vietnamese voters out. Put the languages on the ballots. It's not costly. The cost is greater to suppress your constituents. They will come back and haunt you over it. Okay? People are smart. They see through this. This was racist. Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen over here. I'm a Morrow resident. Now I'm living with my parents close to the Walmart. I come here to share my personal experiences to prove why Vietnamese or Spanish, the language should be in the election. When I come to the dialogue, and I will share with you 3 scary. I think after I voted for someone, I'm scared. Oh, my vote won't be blue. I'm scared. Oh, maybe I will be in the jail if I fail to do something against the laws. Yes, and the third thing that I may get a job up to a lot of $1,000. Yeah, that's what my experience. And yes, and when I talk to you, you guys know how my English skill is very worse yet. And I'm a language barrier. I even don't understand when the bill coming. And my mom always asks me, she asked me, oh, what is this say? I don't know, Mom. And we have to use a Google Translate. And I even didn't want to sign any paperwork because I'm scared I can go against the law or the federal law, yes. I know some people over here, you are so lucky because you were born in America. We wasn't born over here, and we fought a lot in order to a real American. But I don't understand why Miss Dorothy say Miss Vengeance is an American. Oh my goodness, what did she say? And I hope you should correct your words again. She and I and we over here are a real American. Sorry if I say something disrespectful to you. And finally, thank you for everyone listening to me.
People with some raised hands, so I just want to make sure we're not stepping out of order. So with the exception of the gentleman that I have standing here, was there anybody else that was interested in speaking? So this will be our last.
There's one
more gentleman there. So after this second gentleman, that will be our last.
Oh, we have another.
The third gentleman. That'll be our last. Well, then we'll just go.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I seen I called something I didn't intend to. Thank you for, first I'd like to just say thank you for having this as an opportunity for the people to be heard. I know that for those who may not know, my name is Elmont D. Howard. I'm a Georgia State Representative in my 5th year. I'm glad to serve you as your secretary for the Clayton County delegation, and I am the chairperson for the Henry County Legislative Delegation. I didn't have much to say, but I knew that it was pressed upon my heart, and I'm sure as many of you, that we all believe in democracy. We believe in the necessities of a collective America that sees that we each have a voice. I remember from the years that I've organized to help to secure that opportunity to understand the goings-on of our legislature and of our nation, and helping others to understand the value of voting and knowing their ballots, what their ballot says. Knowing that they have a government that takes money out of their paychecks to pay for every type of service. That the same dollars that they spend in the grocery stores go to better the roads, to better access for education, to be able to provide a quality of life that is, as you are seeing here, that is all geared for quality growth. Literally, that's the model of your city. It's necessary for us to remember that oftentimes in the civil rights movement, it was not just a Black or African American people that were on those lines.
That's right.
I am reminded of my mentor, a brother I had the opportunity to meet back in 2013, a philanthropist, activist, and an amazing performer, the late Mr. Harry Belafonte. Mr. Belafonte often would go outside of the communities that were just in and around his neighborhood. He was a Jamaican son who became an American and who used his voice, even to the detriment of his own singing abilities, to be able to recognize that everybody has an opportunity to participate in this democracy. It's upsetting, however, that we do live in a time period where, because of our hyper-sensationalized social media and because of the commercialism of loud rants, oftentimes people find it that they are unwilling to talk to one another, that they find easy ways to unfriend or to block someone rather than having a very uncomfortable conversation about what it truly means to be an American. And in doing so, you might find that they are as American as you. I'm reminded by those women and men who marched, who sacrificed, who were literally locked up, not even knowing if their parents could even understand the language of how to read a bond order in order to get their child out of that jail cell. I remember that their stances said to us, do not let the tools of the oppressor be used by the children of those who are oppressed. When we seek to find ways to block people from the process, even to the extent of calling them un-American, or as what was said, that their allegiance to a language other than English makes them un-American. Unfortunately, we may be taking on it's a condition known as Stockholm Syndrome, where we are literally taking on the ideas and the opinions of those who do not see our humanity. For those people who we know blocked access, for people like Fannie Lou Hamer, people like Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, people who are not just African American, but actually had to reach out to other communities in order to gain a sense of solidarity for what it means to truly be an American. We cannot stop this process of the democracy from being further explained in languages that speak to everyone. That's why I've been fortunate enough to be in this space to be able to help and stop and use my technology, not to cast dispersions, not to cause upsetting conversations to continue online, but using something as useful as Google Translate so that I can help be able to explain to people who do not share my language, get them to understand that they are paid into the society and they deserve to have their voice heard and they deserve to know where their tax money is going. And just because they don't understand the same language, if they truly understood what it means to be an American, it means that they realize that their voice matters. It is, I would just like to convey that when I sit in this room, I hear the gentleman who was up here earlier, one of the second speakers, he spoke Vietnamese. I don't know what he said. After this meeting, I hope to ask him or others like him, what did they say? We have a right to speak freely with our First Amendment rights, and we can use our voice to ask, what were you saying? We have a voice to ask, do you mean my community harm or do you mean me good? We have an opportunity to converse. And because our conversationalists, because we are supporting conversations, because we are supporting a people's right to be able to freely use their free speech, what it helps us do is what I hope will be done from this point forward. Please use your First Amendment free speech right to apologize.
Yes.
We live in the harshness of a social media environment that has us be able to take positions to even be able to call somebody as un-American. And even to hear that in Georgia, it really surprises me because I'm used to hearing language like that come from a governor down in Florida. We need not be able to play into the politics. Every single day we are in a Walmart or in a Kroger or we're parking our cars outside here, and we're literally in a society that has more around us than people who can strictly speak English but still have more value. And I think that if we really are following the essence of what those have marched for, those people who have given us the right to freely breathe our air and to understand one another, we can realize that we are human. God knows we are human. And to err is human, but to forgive is divine. I'm asking that while we make this opportunity, should you so wish, Councilwoman Dean, I respect, I would please ask for you to apologize, but I would also implore all of you who love an America where we treasure our freedom of speech to please give her the space and the capacity to be welcomed back in, because we can all learn to be better Americans. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council members. Good evening, residents of Morrow and the many guests from throughout metropolitan Atlanta. My name is Tim Lee. I'm a refugee. I came to the United States in 1982. I didn't come by choice. My uncle actually, my parents sent me with my uncle on a small boat to travel across the ocean to have an opportunity to seek for freedom. After the fall of Saigon in 1975, South Vietnam, our democracy, basically we lost our country and we lost our freedom. Communists took over South Vietnam and we had no rights. So the only thing that my parents could do was sacrifice everything that they had, even the possibility of losing me and my sister on the high seas. So, as an American citizen, I value freedom and I value the rights that are given to each and every one of our citizens. I became a citizen in 1990 when I was 18, and I value that right, that privilege to go and vote. And I see how difficult it is for my parents. Even today, my parents came after I did. You know, they were caught. They tried to escape Vietnam several times. Were caught and imprisoned by the communists. Eventually, through the humanitarian, the HO program from the late Senator John McCain, they were able to come to the United States, and they follow politics, American, U.S. politics, and also international politics, especially Vietnam. If you ask them about Vietnam politics, they know it because they read it, they study it. But it is very difficult for them to be able to understand US politics. And this is even more difficult for them to go to the booth and try to figure out what all those checkboxes represent. So I am very encouraged to see that, Councilwoman Van Tran petitioned to make this happen in the city of Morrow. Again, we do have disagreement, and it's causing a lot of tension among the residents of the city of Morrow. I hope that we can mend the differences and work together and try to make this city a wonderful place that it can be. And again, I thank you, the council, and I thank you, everyone, for
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fabian, and I'm a college student, and I'm a resident of Houston County. And I'm a little bit shaking right now. This is my first time having public speaking with the government.
You got
this. Both of my grandfathers was veterans for the South Vietnamese government. And I was lucky enough that I was born and raised in Vietnam. So, but I am lucky enough that my parents did all of what they got to get my sister and I come to the United States to be united with my grandfather, who is having the resident of Georgia for the past 40 years. And I still remember on the 4th of July, my families have a rental property, and my tenants, I remember this was very excited to go to the event in the Morrow, and I asked him, what are you doing? I asked him, do you have any plane, or do you have going anywhere on 4th of July? He said, yeah, I'm going to Morrow because they have the event. And since then I started to see, not the Houston County, but the Morrow city, they have the Vietnamese community too. And this is my second time in Morrow. And when I look at Mr. Hua on the poster that he posted in our communities, that we're going to have a lot of events about for the city, for the people and for the community, musical, and most of them are Vietnamese singer and reserved for our community. And I think it's maybe this a misunderstanding or unexpected incidents, but as we have a quote that give for quality growth, I hope that both our councilwomen could unite it again and have an open dialogue like we are having right now, because we all know our time is very precious. And we all know not even the Morrow resident is here, but a lot of people from outside, we can see very old people spending their time, their health for this. And moreover, I can see on the USCIS website and healthcare.gov, they all have the Vietnamese language to support us. And not even Vietnamese, other communities too, like Spanish, other stuff. But even you go to Home Depot or everyone, they all have something to support the language. So I hope that we can resolve this problem in peacefully and openly. That's it. Thank you for listening.
My name is Devontae Jennings. I am here in support on behalf of the Young Democrats of Clayton County. Because our board is so diverse with Hispanic members and Vietnamese members, but more so, I felt the need to want to say something when it comes to, I feel like the council pretty much got the point with everything said, but as far as the media outlets that are out here, and some of the media outlets that I've definitely seen take certain stories and craft it certain different ways, I just want to make sure that we keep the narrative, the same narrative. This is not a black versus Asian, this is not a black versus Hispanic, and this is, we're, like Representative Neal said, one Clayton. on the Young Democrats of Clayton County is Vietnamese, Black, Hispanic. I've gone a lot of information on both communities just by sitting and having conversations with. One of the young ladies actually here that spoke, we made it a point to make sure we make our flyers so they are translated not only in English but Vietnamese. And hopefully the But my whole point of coming up here is, as chair of the Young Democrats Black Caucus, is that the media outlets, we do not turn this into a racial issue. This is not a racial issue. This is an issue, but race, I think, should be left out of the equation. Clayton County is, if I'm not mistaken, very Black, very Asian, very Hispanic. Do not allow them to take this situation when they don't show us no love any other way, but when it comes to segregated issues like this, now media outlets want to get involved to now amplify story and quote things. Now again, I'm not defending anybody. I'm defending one people. My favorite activist of all time is Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton pushed power for all people. So my last words will be, I love my Hispanic community, you know what I'm saying? I love my Vietnamese community. But to the media outlets, if you walk away with anything today, this is not a black-white, this is not even a black-white issue. This is not a race issue. Keep the issue. And I would like some of the knowledge translated for me too, because reading the bills is kind of hard. I mean, somebody said it, I laughed, and then, you know, but yeah, so all the media outlets, A&F, whatever one you're with, yeah, let's keep it. Morrow citizens upset about this, not Black councilwoman attacks Vietnamese community. That's all I have to say.
I believe that gentleman right there was the last gentleman that had a request to speak. So the public comment session is over.
No. Did you want to talk?
We will go to comments from the city council. Councilwoman Tran.
Mr. Mayor, I am gathering my thought, and during the meeting, I always need call last to cast my vote. So I would like to have order be respected in place and comments as well.
Ms. Renee.
Thank you all for coming out this evening. The opportunity for dialogue is what we need to focus on. I appreciate everyone coming to speak today. Certainly, as a community, we have to move forward together. Thank you.
Councilman Clark.
Good evening, everybody. And thank you to all that attended today, coming out, express your opinion, for your support. Our voice should be heard. I want to take this opportunity to kind of remind us all, United States of America is an immigration country. We have people come all over the world. So we, that our native language is, all over the world. And of course, based on America, we move to America, English is an official language, but most of us adapt to learn and adapt to the language and the culture pretty quickly. I want you all to take a moment to think about the elderly citizen, immigration people who are here in their 60 or 70. I want you to challenge you guys to learn another language when you're in those age. It's very difficult. It's difficult for them to to communicate with their own grandchildren at the grocery store and everywhere. And America did a good job to translate, to provide the language, the translation wherever available for everybody. And I want you guys to know that for the political reason, for whatever it is, Councilwoman Van Cran been working on his petition to adopt more languages to City Morrow ballot. It is a good thing. And I want to remind Mr. Mayor, the council, Councilwoman Dean Presley, regardless of the outcome, the decision to see the city would elect because we're afraid other people to understand more, make it easier access for them to go to the ballot. You might lose control or whatever it is. But whatever Councilwoman Van Cran doing, she entitled the right to do that. No one can stop her. Councilwoman Dean, you say you are proud American, but you insulting somebody trying to have other Americans to have better access to the ballot. You insulted them. Shame on you.
Yes, yes. Apologize or resign.
Very disrespectful for an elected official to attack another elected official, minority elected official. This is unacceptable to me. I don't know about you, Mr. Mayor, or the council, but look up to me. We are all Americans. We come here and we are American. We entitled the right to go vote. I don't care what you think, it's your political view. I mean, you can vote to, you're entitled to vote to restrict, to not to have all the language added to the ballot. That's your totally political opinion to stay in control. But whatever the actions of Councilwoman Dorothy did last week, insulting Van Cran, shame on you. You're an American. You should be resigned.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I want you all to go home and think about that. I want Councilwoman Dorothy to think about that. If you call it from me, or from Van Cran, or anybody else, what would you think? I want to remind you all, we came here as a Hispanic, Vietnamese, Asian, European, whatever it is. We here, we Americans. We entitled the right to vote. And making it easy, access to everybody is a federal thing. It's not your decision. It's making your decision, political decision to hold it in your city, in your group of political, in your political group. But insulting minority official, elected official, is not the right thing. And I want you all to think about it. Supporting it or not, it's on you. Just pointed it out tonight. Just want to point it out. And I want to thank you everybody for coming out tonight. This is Morrow. This is America. We cannot tolerate the kind of action like that happen in the future. That's why we have to stand up. Raise our voice. Stop this cannot be any fear. Thank you.
Councilwoman Tran.
Mr. Mayor, I was the last person to cast a vote when it's come to vote, so I respectfully ask you, please have the same order when it comes to the comment section.
Councilwoman Dean.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate all of you coming out, and I appreciate your opinion that you've expressed here tonight. And we all have our right to our own opinion. And someone mentioned the word freedom. And my opinion of freedom is, if you understand language that is spoken in a country, that's freedom. That is true freedom, that's independence. And not that I'm against everyone having their freedom. The language, if you will, and if you can, it's all over. When you leave the polling place, you're gonna have to speak to somebody to ask, what is that sign? What is this? Please learn the language, because it will give you complete freedom as an American citizen. That is my opinion. Our citizens and
really?
She's
We don't respect bigotry. Yeah, we don't respect bigots.
Mayor, she needs to apologize publicly.
Yes.
That's what she needs to do.
Or she needs to resign, or she can resign, leave the position and resign and help the city move forward without your racism.
Put the petition on.
Ms. Tran.
Good evening, everyone. I first of all would like to say thank you for everyone that used your valuable time to be here with us tonight. And first of all, I want to express my appreciation for all the support that I have been receiving for the past few days since this incident about my college criticized me that how un-American I am on AJC. I received tremendous amount of support from people that I don't even know, from the people that I knew. They tremendous support. They got emails, phone calls from elected officials from the city that I never met. In responding to Ms. Dorothy's comments on the previous meeting this month, so her commenting culturally insensitive, and the statement were made on the incorrect assumption and lack of understanding of the Voting Rights Act. So yesterday, 26 Georgia legislators have signed a letter to condemn Ms. Dorothy's comments. And I would like to have a few copies here with you tonight. I did not expect that much of attendees, so if it's, please share among with you all. And I apologize that I did not prepare enough copies. Let me get the letter up again. So I am an American as equal as any other American citizen. So using the term immigrant American is just simply implying that we are unequal. So what I am trying to do is to give the American citizen the access to cast their vote. That's the foundation of this country. This country is founded by its people, by their vote, and that's their voice. My background is that I was born and unfortunately grew up in a communist country. I was born after 1975, grew up there until I was 30 years old. I did not understand the word freedom, really, until I landed my 5th year in this country. And to learn that as a free person, I have so much freedom to believe who I am, to have the freedom to speak, to share my opinion, to raise my concern, even to criticize the elected official if they do something wrong, and to pursue my happiness. And all the rights are protected by the Constitution. In comments, it is offensive to say many languages spoken by the Americans in the foreigners. She insulted not only me, but all the humanity that I'm standing for in this position.
That's right. And across Georgia.
So, the United States is a representative democracy. It means our government is elected by its citizens. Voting is upholding the U.S. democracy. So I am going to borrow the quote from the letter of condemning historically remarks signed by 26 Georgia legislators, saying that there's no more American activity, nor one that better honors the founding principle of this country than ensuring our citizens can access the right to vote.
Yes.
So during this process, and when the idea was proposed to the council, Mr. Mayor, 2 times in 2 meetings, continuously saying this, the proposal was an illegal act. But yet, when the request to have the city attorney opinion to give the legal advice is never being processed, I follow up with him by emails and asking him could he educate me by providing the law code that articulate that promoting or giving people given the access to vote is an illegal thing. I never received a response. And then Mayor Lambo is disrespectful to me by telling me my volunteers at the city event on July the 2nd that I am a crazy person. And when Ms. Dorothy didn't get the remark that the attacking, insulting remark to me, he intentionally would not allow me to respond. When I asked for the permission to respond to Ms. Dorothy's comment, The mayor answer was, the floor is mine. And the mayor went on make his comments and close the meeting. So, Council Dean and the mayor should be held accountable for their action. Council Dean should be held accountable for your offensive comments. It hurt not only me, but all the minority that I'm standing for in this petition. It hurt the entire community. It upset the city's residents of the cities as well. And Mr. Mayor is also should be held accountable for manipulative telling this act is an illegal act, but yet the mayor has the access to get the legal advice from the city attorney, but he never get us the clarification and legal advice in the possible act that allow American citizens who have illness difficulty to fulfill their duty to vote. So several hundreds of senators have signed for the petitions, like Vietnamese, Spanish, and the non-Vietnamese, the non-Spanish speaker in the city. And you all, council, mayor and council all heard all the comments from public, from organizations, from the state reps being here. We all understand how important it is and how much would it be when we give the public, give the American citizen the access so they can cast a vote. So, and I'm leaving this with status as fact from my mayor and my council members to think about. So in Morrow, the Asian is 32.9%. In that 32.9%, it is 2,100 something Asian and the Vietnamese are 2,000. The Latino is 22%. Winnet had 13.8% of the Asian and 22% of Hispanic and Latino. And by law, section 203, say, Winnet had to provide the Spanish, the ballot in Spanish. But Winnet is so proactive. Not only they did that, they have the language commission. And they also provide election information in many Asian languages. We have Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, and Vietnamese. Year 2020, the County, with the percentage of Asian in their county, Asian is only 6.6%, and Latino is only 8.7%, but they voluntarily provide key election information to encourage American citizens to vote. So I will leave that fact for my my council members and my mayor to think, what should we do and what decision that should we make to serve the community that's so diverse. Thank you. And thank you for all the state rep being here tonight, Jasmine Hill, state rep Sandra Scott, state rep Bernard, state rep Amanda, I'm sorry.
That's all right, I understand.
And then state rep And thank you so much for each individual for participating of the meeting tonight. Spend your valuable time to be here for the Ethics Council meeting. Thank you.
A little bit of housekeeping before I make my final remark. As I said earlier, we're going to go into the executive session. We'll eventually come out of the executive session. For those who want to continue discussions among yourselves, you can just go right out that door to the left. And Victor Ayala, that wasn't what we intended, but okay. We saw a handful of citizens comment today. We saw the state of Georgia come out today from all over Georgia and other places. Some representing advocacy groups that speak specifically to the issue. And you notice we were able to do it in a peaceful manner. For the most part, everyone got to speak. In a lot of jurisdictions, we'd be sitting here today saying you got 2 minutes to speak, 3 minutes to speak, because somebody would value their time more than your time. The city of Morrow is a very fun place to live. I've lived here a long time. My neighbors are Vietnamese. My father-in-law is Vietnamese. He's not a United States citizen. My grandfather was an immigrant. My dad, he don't spoke no English. My dad spoke both. And I barely speak English, just to give you an idea. So the difference between where some people are at today and where my family was at 3 generations ago is not that far. Right? We all come from somewhere else. That's just a fact. Right? But what we do while we're here makes all the difference in the world. The city of Morrow is going to run against the rails occasionally. But as you walk out here today, you're going to see at the very front of this building is a statue that was built by the Vietnamese community, representing the POW for the Vietnamese community. That took the support of everybody sitting in front of you to make that happen. Other communities would tell you what you wanted to hear, and Morrow backed it up. Other communities would tell you how much they support you. We invite you to events and we bring tens of thousands of people. Not just for the Asian community, the Vietnamese community, the Hispanic community, and others. We do back it up. Okay? That's fair. We'll learn. We'll work together. Now, there's about 250 seats in this room. There's 8,000 citizens in the city of Morrow. Okay? So the conversation will sink in. Thoughts will be applied. And decisions will be made. We do appreciate everyone coming out today. We appreciate your time. Right? And we appreciate all the effort you put into it. The conversations were phenomenal. There was something that was pretty cool. But don't take this as a negative. Right? You know, you ever have, like your mom scolded you and some other things. You know, sometimes that's just how it has to work. A lot of other countries, they don't scold you. You know what I mean? But here, we get to have a discourse. We get to kind of jockey around a little bit. And we get to make some changes, the changes you want, the changes we need. So I feel very good about that. Well, let's work together to see what we can do to improve it. Okay? I make a motion, I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Payne? Aye. Ms. Qua? I don't know. Aye.
Aye.